Hi, I'm Harper with Life with Leverage, and we coach you on the infinite banking concept and how you can become your own banker. Today, we're going to dive into Nelson Nash's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. I'm going to flip to my screen here, show you what the book looks like if you have not heard of it or seen a visual. And as you can see, we have Becoming Your Own Banker on the site infinitebanking.org. Nelson Nash's son-in-law, David Stearns, runs infinitebanking.org or Nelson Nash Institute now, and you can buy great resources through here. I'll make an offer though. Anyone who is interested in becoming your own banker or the infinite banking concept, let me know. I'll give you a free copy of Nelson's book or give you my presentation that's based off the principles and foundation of his book, Becoming Your Own Banker. As long as one, you're open-minded, and two, you're committed to reading through it, I want to have at least a conversation with you or a video call prior to giving you that book for free. With that said, let's dive into the Kindle version of his book so I can have it on my desktop and we can go through. And we're going to go through, but I can get a higher rate of return. Okay, this is from chapter 16 in Nelson's book. I get this from time to time when people say, hey, why would I take my money and go put it through a life insurance contract if I can get a better return or an internal rate of return over here in real estate or business or stock market or somewhere else? Fair question, so why don't we make a video to go through it? And we're going to go from Nelson's book and see what he says in here, and then I'll elaborate on it some. Chapter 16, but I can get a higher rate of return. When first exposed to the rationale, the infinite banking concept, a person will almost always think and often voice the thought, but I can get a higher rate of return by investing in X. Real estate, business owners, in their own business, or the stock market, or loaning money out to other investors or real estate investors to make money. Unfortunately, that person has not understood the message. We are not addressing the yield, return, of an investment. We are discussing how you finance, how the money flows and finances that investment. We are discussing how you finance anything that you buy. It is always better to finance it through your banking system, as in one you own and control, than out of your pocket. To demonstrate this principle, suppose that person A invests $100,000 for 1 year and earns 20%. As you see in the top right, the gross yield, 20% is $20,000 off $100,000. Let's say their taxes are 30%. That's going to be $6,000 of the 20, and you're going to net $14,000. Now suppose person B builds up and accumulates capital in their own banking system of $100,000. Okay, he says suppose B builds cash values of $100,000 in his own infinite banking concept, dividend-paying life insurance with a mutual company plan, then borrows it from his system for 8%, and then makes the same investment, same identical investment as person A above. The results are like this. Before we continue, yes, he's borrowing at 8% in this example because this book was written a few decades ago when interest rates were higher. But guess what? If interest rates are higher, the insurance company's returns are also higher because they're able to get a higher, more guaranteed or safer yield with corporate bonds, treasuries, other things of that nature. Now the gross yield with person B is $20,000. Less interest paid to the banking system, the 8%, because you borrowed against your policy, right, from the same insurance institution the policy's at, is going to be $8,000, so your taxable gain's $12,000. Taxes on that, 30% is $3,600, and your net yield's $8,400. Say, okay, yes, see, I'm winning. Well, you need to consider, but in this case, you must remember who the characters are in the play. And Nelson, early in his book, talks about who the characters are in the play. Person B also owns, this is not just the customer, but also owns the policy to which interest is paid and earns the $8,000 on a non-tax basis, so the total results are like this. Now, yes, this interest that you're paying the insurance company is not money you're borrowing, so you could write it off if you are using it for a business purpose. I am not a CPA or attorney, so you can talk with your CPA or attorney to write that off, but this is what Nelson's suggesting in his book. Now the net yield from the investment, $8,400. Net yield from the banking system, because the policy is sitting there recapturing lost profit or interest, right? And is going to be about the same rate as your borrowing. It can be up and down over the years, but approximately the same. That's $8,000. Total yield 16.4. That is higher than the original 14 from the previous page, as you see, because you are recapturing it on a tax-free basis, one, and two, you have that interest you're paying, right, that you can write off. Now, this principle applies to any investment that you might make, so there is no way that a person can get a higher rate of return by ignoring the banking process. There's a delay in time while getting the banking system established, but once this is done, it is a one-time only event. Anytime a person starts up a new business, there is a delay in time before profitability commences. When a life insurance policy is created, that is the equivalent of starting a business that never existed before, and the same phenomenon is inevitable. It is just like a trust agreement. A trust has a grantor, a trustee, and a beneficiary. Now, I want to recap that it takes time to capitalize and build something that you're owning and creating, like Nelson said. So think about investing in real estate. You might get some cash flow, but usually you got to fix up the property, fix up the apartments, starts cash flowing, then over time you get a really good return. If you were trying to create a traditional brick and mortar bank, that's going to take time to capitalize and then be able to profit over a long haul. And then same thing for starting a business. I'm going to skip through this paragraph and go down here, where it's saying the grantor can certainly be a place where the trustee puts property to work. In the case of a life insurance policy, the owner of the policy outranks every other place that an insurance company must put money, the equity in the owner's policy, to work. What we want to focus on is that when you're both the owner and customer of the bank, you are able to finance it out of your own pool of capital, finance that investment. So money sits here, you take from it, or borrow against it in this scenario and finance what you're going to go purchase or invest in. And so you got to reshape the perspective that, hey, the pool of money you have with your policies versus it being in a bank, you're able to leverage against that in a very preferential and tax preferential way to then go make the investment. The last cherry on the top is if you did not have your whole life dividend paying policy that also provides, guess what, a death benefit. The death benefit would have a cost if you had that in a standalone term, that then that cash would be out the door, that no longer is out the door in that term premium each year because it's going to be rolling into this whole system. And the only thing you got to plan for is that you got to think long term, you got to accumulate capital, and you got to build up your bank so that you can therefore utilize it just like anything else in life. You can reach out to me at harper@lifewithleverage.com if you want to talk further, or you have any questions. You also can go to lifewithleverage.com. Really looking forward to talking with you. Thanks.